want to graph the line that contains the point 4, 1 and has a slope of 1/3. We have our 1 point already. We have 4, 1. So remember, the first value in an order pair is an x value. So we have an x of 4. Second one's a y value, y of 1. So 4 and 1. So give us this point right here. Like that. What about you? Like a bigger marker or something. So that's our first point. To find the second point, there's a few ways to go about it. We can either say, well, if we interpret the slope, remember this is your change in y over your change in x. So it's going up 1 and going to the right 3. It's one way to interpret it. So if we go up 1 unit and to the right 3, 1, 2, 3, we're going to have this point right here, which looks like what, 7, 2. We can also interpret it as going down 1 and to the left 3. So if we do that, we go down 1, 1, 2, 3 to the left 3. We'd have this point right here of 1, 0. And so you just got to draw the line that connects those points. There we go. The other way you can do it is if you start with your original point that gave you 4, 1, and then you have that slope of 1/3. So it's like you add 3 to the 4, add 1 to the 1, and you'll get 7, 2 as another point. Or you can subtract 3, subtract 1, and that'll give you the 1, 0 points. And then plot those points and you get the interval. So either way you want to do it, works out. It's all up to you. Okay, Claire. So if it keeps cutting out, just you can watch the video on YouTube. That way you don't miss anything. But I got you on the roll already. Any questions on that one? Yeah. So you got another one. Graph the line containing the point P, which is 2, 8, and having slope of 0. So the first thing we need to notice is, well, we got that point 2, 8. So let's plot that. That's going to be x is 2, y is 8. So 2 and 8. That's going to meet up right here, 2, 8. So that's our first point right there. And when you have m is equal to 0, that means that there's no change in y, but x can change. Or we also know that it means it's a horizontal line. And so that's going to be our line there. Remember, if it's undefined, well, there might be one like that there. So if we don't have one now, it's a horizontal line. Any questions on that problem? All right. Oh, yep. So the next one is graph the line containing P, the point 2, 4, and the slope is undefined. All right, so we just got to plot that point first. 2, 4. That's where x is 2, and y is -4. It's going to be down here. So 2 and -4 is going to meet right there. So that's going to be our point. 2, 4. And since it's undefined, that means that it's a vertical line, or you can think of it as the y's are changing, but the x are staying the same. And so you end up with just a vertical line there, where x is always 2. So just remember, for vertical lines, it's x equals something, so it's going to be x is equal to 2. For the other one we were looking at, this would be y is equal to 8, would be the equation of that line. Any questions on any of those 3? All right, this fourth one. We want to find the equation of the line. what do they give us? They give us 2 points. We got the point 0, 0 and the point 8, 7. So, first things we gotta do is they give us, remember to write or find the equation of the line. What we really need is the slope and a point. And what do we have now? We have 2 points. We have 0, 0 and 8, 7. So we need to find what is the slope. Remember the slope, your change in y divided by your change in x. And so I'm going to label these, let's call this x of 1, y sub 1, and x of 2, y sub 2. And so for us, or the way I got it labeled, it's going to be 7 minus 0 over 8 minus 0. If you did 0 minus 7 over 0 minus 8, you get the same thing. We're going to get 7 over 8. That's going to be the slope of our line. Any questions we'll find in that. Once we have that, we're going to plug it in to the point slope form of a line. Y minus y sub 1 is equal to m times x minus x sub 1. You can choose which point you want to use. And I think I told you if you have a point that has zeros in it, choose that point and make it so much easier on you. And so we had a point that's the origin, that's 2, 0. So we're just going to use that one. And so we're going to say y minus 0 is equal to 7/8 times x minus 0. And so this is going to evaluate to y is equal to 7/8 times x. 7 over 8 times x. And that's going to be my equation of my line. Remember, the form that we're trying to get into is y equals mx plus b. Oops, got my x. Maybe one more try on that. Mx plus b. And remember, m is your slope, b is your y-intercept. This is like plus 0 right here, which makes sense because the intercept is 0. So remember, you can use that to test it to make sure, give you a little bit more confidence that you got the right answer. If you had the graph, look at what the y-intercept is if they show it, and check it against your equation. Any questions on that? All right. Let me see if I can throw up 3 of them. Yeah, I don't know if we'll get there. All right, here you go. So we got 3 problems here. The first one, you're just trying to find the equation of that line. The second one, you're finding the equation of the line that is parallel to y equals negative 2x. And they give you the point here of negative 3, 2. And then the third one, you want to find one that's perpendicular to y equals negative 3x. And it has that shared point of 1, negative 3. So the first one, just like the one before, we're trying to find the equation of this line. They give us 2 points. So our first thing is to find what is the slope. And so remember, it's going to be the difference in y's over a difference in x's. Let's do negative 1 minus 2 over negative 1 minus the negative 4. If you did the opposite way, 2 minus the negative 1 over negative 4 minus the negative 1, that's fine too. Just remember the ones on top of each other need to come from the same point. That's the main thing. And so this is going to result in what? Negative 3 over negative 1 plus 4 is going to be 3. And so we end up with a slope of negative 1. Now what we need to do is plug that in, point slope form. That's y minus y sub 1 is equal to m times x minus x sub 1. And so for us, that's going to be y minus, I'm going to use that negative 1 point. You can use negative 4 comma negative 2 if you want. Does not matter. So that's going to equal that equal negative 1 times x minus negative 1. So that will, wait, let's just decide about all those negatives first. So y plus 1 is equal to negative 1 times x plus 1. Now let's distribute the negative 1 on the right-hand side to the x. So the positive 1, so we'll have y plus 1 is equal to negative x minus 1. And then we need to subtract 1 from both sides to solve for y. Y is equal to negative x minus 2. Makes sense. We got a slope of negative 1. We got negative x. It says the y-intercept is negative 2. Looks like negative 2 to me. Good enough. Now, don't assume just from the graph that you can tell the y-intercept. Sometimes it's a little hard to read, but it's a good thing to check. If you can check it, you have the graph. Okay, well, that looks about negative 2. That checks out. But don't assume it if you're trying to find the answer. It's a bad way to go, depending on how people draw the graph. I wouldn't put my faith in it too much. Any questions on that problem? All right, going to parallel and perpendicular. So we're trying to find the equation of line L that's parallel to y equals negative 2x. So when it's parallel, it means that the slope is the same. The slope of this line is negative 2. So that means the slope of our line is also going to be negative 2. So now we have the slope. We have a point. Plug it in. Y minus 2 is equal to the slope negative 2 times x minus the negative 3. And let's work that out. Let's simplify with the stuff in that parentheses first. So we have y minus 2 equal to negative 2 times x plus 3. Let's go ahead and distribute that negative 2 to the x to the positive 3. So we'll have y minus 2 is equal to negative 2x minus 6. Make sure you distribute to the 3 as well. And we're going to add 2 to solve for y to both our sides of our equation here. We're going to have y is equal to negative 2x minus 4. And so we got a slope of negative 2, which matches the slope of our original line. Good. We got a y-intercept of negative 4. And it looks, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks like negative 4 to me. So that's it. Any questions on that second one? All right, the last one. Do I have room to bring it down there? Move that there, move that there. All right, we're trying to find the equation of the line L. L is perpendicular to y is equal to negative 3x. And so if the line, the original slope is negative 3, then the slope of my perpendicular line is what? We're going to flip that and become negative 1/3. We're going to negate, we're going to change the sign of it. So it's going to be positive 1/3. So that's going to be the equation. Sorry, that's going to be the slope of our line. Now we plug that in. And y minus y sub 1 is equal to m times x minus x1. Don't have our choice of points. We got to pick that one point. So we have y minus a negative 3. You get a 1/3 times x minus 1. So So on the left-hand side, we have y plus 3. On the right-hand side, let's distribute the 1/3. We have 1/3 x minus 1/3. And we're going to subtract 3 from both sides to solve for y. And so what we'll end up with, and I'll write it up here, well, y is equal to 1/3 x. And we're going to have, let's work it out on the side. We have negative 1/3 minus 3. 3 over 1. And so to get a common denominator, we're going to need a 3 in the denominator. That means we have to multiply by 3 here, multiply by 3 here. So what we end up with is negative 1/3 minus 9/3. And so negative 1 minus 9, negative 10/3. So we're going to have 1/3 x. That's 10/3. Which 10/3 is about negative 9 and 1/3. Let's look at the graph and see how that matches up. Check our answer. But this is the line that we're working with here. And your y-intercept's right here. So 1, 2, 3, and a little bit. Yeah, seems to work out. Maybe negative 3 and with 1/3. Any questions on that one? That's the toughest one so far. All right. What are we doing here? So here we're finding equations of lines with different properties. Oh, this is not bad. So in the first one, they're giving you the slope and a point. The second one, they're giving you 2 points. And the third one, they're giving you the slope and the y-intercept. Right. So these, let's talk about that first one. So they give us the slope and they give us a point. So we can just go straight into point slope form. We can say, well, y minus a negative 3, you get a negative 2 times x minus 3. Simplify the left-hand side, we're going to make that y plus 3 is equal to, let's distribute the negative 2, so negative 2x plus 6. And then we'll subtract 3 from both sides. Solving for y, which would be y is equal to negative 2x plus 3. If you want it in general form, just move the 2x over. 2x plus y is equal to 3. Or if you want to do 1y, doesn't matter. Any questions on that one? All right, the second one, we're trying to find the equation. Here they give us 2 points, so they don't give us the slope. So we're going to have to find the slope. So the slope is going to be the change in y over the change in x. So let's do negative 2 minus a negative 3 over negative 1 minus 1. Remember, the numbers on top of each other have to come from the same point. And so this is going to be what? Negative 2 plus 3, which would be positive 1. Negative 1 minus 1 is negative 2. So we end up with a slope of negative 1/2. We got that. We got 2 points to choose from. I'm probably going to choose that first one. So I do y minus a negative 2 is equal to negative 1/2 times x minus a negative 1. Let's simplify the left-hand side. So we'll have y plus 2. Let's simplify this one a little bit on the right hand first. Let's make this x plus 1. Better to do it in small steps so you don't mess up. Now let's distribute the negative 1/2 to the x to the positive 1. So we'll have y plus 2 is equal to negative 1/2 x minus 1/2. And finally, what we're going to do is solve for y is minus 2, subtract 2 from both sides. And so we'll have y is equal to negative 1/2 x. Now, if we need to work this out on the side, we can do so. We can do negative 1/2 minus 2 over 1. We're going to need a common denominator. That's going to be 2. That means I got to multiply this by 2, this by 2. So we're going to negative 1/2 minus 4 over 2, which is going to end up being what? Negative 5 over 2. And that's going to be our equation number 1. Any questions on that one? And the last one in this group, remember, if they give you the slope and the y-intercept, remember that y equals mx plus b, the slope-intercept form, that's all you need. So this is just going to be y equal to negative 8x plus 7. So you could plug in the y-intercept. That is the point 0, 7. Right? We know that y-intercept x is 0, y is whatever the value is. So you could plug that into the point slope form. And if you do, just as a test case, you don't need to do this. But you can see you're going to end up with y minus 7. So you go to negative 8x. You're going to add 7. And so you end up with y is equal to negative 8x plus 7. You can still get there that way as well. There's just no need to do it if you catch it. Any questions on those? I think I got a few more. What are we doing here? We don't need to do that. Well, yeah, we do. So these three. Try those out. All right, so the first one, I'll just move these over here. We are given the x-intercept and the y-intercept. And so if we were given the slope and the y-intercept, it'd be easy. We just plug it in, boom, slope-intercept form. But we're not given that. We're going to have to find the slope. So we need to understand that the x-intercept of 6 means that it's the point 6, 0. The y-intercept is 0, negative 5. And so once we know that, we can find our slope. So let's do, I don't know, negative 5 minus 0 over 0 minus 6. Remember, these points need to come from the same order pair. And so that's going to end up giving us negative 5 over negative 6, which is going to be 5 over 6. Now we're at the point where we have the y-intercept and we have the slope, just like in the last problem. So we can just jump right to slope-intercept form and say this is going to be 5 over 6x minus 5. And be done with it. We don't have to point it. We don't have to put it in the point slope form. If you did, you still get there. It's a little bit easier. Just plug that in. So if you have the slope, the slope and the y-intercept. Any questions on that one? The next one, we want to find the equation of a line that contains the point negative 5, 1. It has a slope that is undefined. So if it's undefined slope, we know it's a vertical line. Right? And so if it's a vertical line, how do we represent a vertical line equation? Anybody remember? There's two options. It's y is equal to a or x is equal to a. Which one is it? It's x is equal to a. And so what is the A? What is the X value we got going on here? -5. So X equal to -5. Good. Good. Any questions on that one? And this third one, oh, if I can scroll, there we go. We want to find the equation of the horizontal line. So if we got a horizontal line, we just kind of figure it out. If the vertical line is x equal to a, horizontal line is whoa. Marker got away from me there. It's gonna be y is equal to a. What's the y value there? 2. And so we're gonna have y is equal to 2. That's gonna be the equation of it. Good. Any questions on that one? Let's see what these are. Parallel, perpendicular. Okay. Let's do these three then. I mean, we're kind of charging through them anyways. Practice is good. So the first one, you want to find the equation of the line that's parallel to the line y equals 3x contained in the point -6, 4. Second one, parallel to x equals 11 contained in the point -7, 4. And the third one, perpendicular to the line y is equal to -1/2 x minus 4 contained in the point -1, -2. So these are pretty good. Let's see what we got. So the first one, they're saying it's parallel to the line y equals 3x and it contains that point -6, 4. The slope of the line y equals 3x is 3. And our line is going to have the same slope. It's just going to have a different point. So we're going to have a slope of 3 as well. We'll plug that in. It's going to be y minus 4 equal to 3 times x minus -6. So let's work that out. It's going to be y minus 4 equal to 3 times x plus 6. That 3 is going to distribute to the x. It's going to distribute to the 6. So y, excuse me, minus 4 is equal to 3x plus 18. Never do 8s. There we go. And we're going to add 4 to both sides to solve for my y. So hopefully we'll scroll. There we go. Y is going to equal 3x plus 22. It's going to be the equation of our y. Any questions on that problem? All right, number 2 is parallel to the line x equals 11. X equals 11 is what type of line? It's a vertical line. It's a vertical line. So that means our line is going to also be a vertical line if it's parallel to it. And so it's going to be x is equal to whatever the x value is, which in this case is -7. Very good. That's going to be the equation of our line. Any questions on that one? All right, next one. I want to find the equation for the line given the properties. It's perpendicular to the line y equals -1/2 x minus 4 and contains point -1, -2. Now, since it's perpendicular, the slope of that line is -1/2. So the slope of our line, which is perpendicular to it, we're going to flip that slope. We're going to find the reciprocal, and we're going to change the sign. We're going to negate it. So it's going to be +2. Don't forget to change the sign. That's a lot of people forget to do. So our slope of our line, +2. So now we just got to plug that in. It's going to be y minus -2 is equal to +2 times x minus -1. make sure you, when you take your x and y value for your point, though, make sure you're choosing the correct one, x, comma, y. And so this is going to be y plus 2 is equal to 2 times x plus 1. Let's distribute the 2 to the x, also to the 1. And so we're going to have y plus 2 to 2x plus 2. And we're going to subtract 2 from both sides to solve for y. And we end up with y is equal to just 2x. So our y-intercept is 0. Any questions on that? We got a few more. Let's see. Yeah, what's this one? The slope. Yeah. I don't think we need to do that one. Let's do these three. So you want to find the equation of a line that's perpendicular to the line x equals -9, contains the point 6, 4. Then the other two you want to determine if the two lines given are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So for this first one, we're trying to find a line that's perpendicular to the line, so we want to find its slope. But when we look at it, x equals -9 is the equation, so that means it's what kind of line? It is a vertical line. And so the slope of it is undefined. We can't really work with that. So we have to determine what kind of line is ours going to be. If it's perpendicular to a vertical line, our line is going to be what? Horizontal. So our line needs to be horizontal, which means we're going to describe it as y is equal to something. It should be y is equal to 4. Yep. Good. Any questions on that one? All right, the last two, we want to determine if they're parallel, perpendicular, or neither. What about these first two? We got y equals 4x minus 2 and y equals 4x plus 2. What we want to look at is the slope. So the slope of this one is 4. The slope of this one is 4. It's the same. So we're thinking they're parallel, but we also have to check what? Their y-intercepts. The y-intercept for this one's -2. The y-intercept for this one's +2. If they're different, that means they're not the same line. So these are parallel lines. If they were the same, then they would be the same line. So they're not parallel. Check the slope's the same, y-intercepts are different. If it's horizontal, make sure the other one's horizontal. If it's a vertical line, make sure the other one's a vertical line. If that's the case. All right, the next one, the slope of this one is 9. The slope of this one is -9. So the slope is not the same, so we know it's not parallel. How do we test to see if it's perpendicular? Anybody remember? If it's perpendicular, then the product of the two slopes should equal -1. Okay, so we can take our two slopes and do 9 times -9. What do we get? -81. So since it's not -1, and we know it's not parallel, this is going to be neither perpendicular or parallel. For it to have been perpendicular, either this slope had to be 1/9 or this slope had to be -1/9. One of them needed to be the reciprocal of the other one, but it just changed the sign, so not really perpendicular.